Hi, my name is Paige Williamson, I am in ISMN 6376 for the summer of 2015. I am in charge of the implementation preparation process section of the ERP planning at Wellborn Cabinets. The first assignment in section 1 of the implementation preparation was to develop a power interest grid. I took all of my stakeholders and put them in order from project management all the way down to business warehouse on Wellborn's list of team managers and teams and the stakeholders involved in that. If you look, the first two associated on this list were Gerald Wiley and Stanley Ezell, the project managers for the procurement of a new ERP system at Wellborn. You can see that I've placed them on the upper right-hand corner of my power interest grid, which means they have a high interest and a high power associated with this project. And it also shows that they need to be monitored closely. And basically it just means that they need to monitor closely as well. These are two people who, with high interest and high power, they have a lot to do with this particular project, which in return is why they are the project managers. And you can see the different ones placed in different areas. They either have a low interest, high power, which usually means you just need to keep them satisfied. A low interest, low power, which means you just need to monitor them. Or a high interest, low power, which means you pretty much need to just keep them informed. You can take a look and see where everyone is and where everyone has been placed on this grid. And you can see their involvement. A power interest grid just lets you take all of your stakeholders' interest and attributes into account and helps you determine how they're going to play a role in your project and where, when they have those roles, they need to be put to determine whether they need to be kept satisfied, managed closely, kept informed, or monitored. The next step was an organization chart, and this is a great asset, and it lets everyone know who is in charge of whom. If someone's gone, then who they might need to report to after, when those people are gone during that time. It lets you know when something is due, who you are to turn that into for approval, who the top person is involved in that. As you see, I've got myself as the project manager, and that is just because I feel that there's a project over a project with this assignment. There's a project of analyzing the Wellborn case in the implementation preparation portion of this case. And then there is just the case itself, where you have to take the facts from it and put it into these different tools that we've learned in this class to analyze it and show that you know where they are in this particular tool, or in this instance, the organization chart. You can see that I've got Gerald Wiley and Stanley Ezell as the deputy project managers, but of course in this case they are the actual project managers. And you can see I did these by the overall teams. They can be broken down even further. I feel like this would take a series of slides to be able to show you everyone involved in this case. But this lets you see the team, the core team, associated with each individual department, such as human resources, product development, finance. And this is just a great asset. It lets you see the functionality of each department and how the whole teams work together. The next is a RACI matrix. I have done mine as a sample portion since there are so many processes involved in this the overall project. I've also broken mine down by teams. They can, of course, be broken down by individual person if you'd like. And the different letters that form RACI refer to the different roles that everyone plays in the project. Your R is going to refer to responsibility, who does the task. Your A is going to refer to accountability, who signs off on the task or has authority for it. Your consultation your C refers to consultation, which refers to the person who has the information necessary to complete the task. And your I refers to those who are informed, who needs to be notified of the task status and results. And these can be found in our book for this class, Information Technology Project Management by Kathy Schwab. This can be found on page 377. And you take this, and I have put it into, like I said, a sample size where you can see the individual areas individual areas involved in scope. You can see it in communication management. And I've taken some of those processes and assigned the letters to them. Across one particular row, you cannot have two R's, and this is just, or two A's, two I's, two C's, and this is just because you don't want two people with the same job. You don't want two people being able to look at it and say that two people are responsible for doing the task. Two people are responsible for signing off on the task. However, you know that in the team form, there might be multiple people doing the same thing, but you need to know who the overall head is and who to go to for these things. If you look closer, we can go through one of them. One of them is the project staff assignments. I have this with the R being human resources. So human resources is going to be the one who maybe draws up the document to assign these different topics to different staff members. And then who signs off on the task or has the authority, of course, that's your project manager. 90% of the time, your A is going to fall in your project management if you've got that on your RACI matrix. And then I have my C, which of course is consultation. You know that your product developers, those are the ones who are really the ones that need to be informed to complete the task. They have to know what these tasks are in order to get the information where it needs to be. And then who needs to be notified of task status and results? Usually that's logistics. Logistics can sort of tell you where you're at. They can tell you if a project is taking too long. They can look at everything from a logistical standpoint, of course. And you can go through each one of these and you can see where the responsibility lies for each individual area. Then you have morale tools. Morale tools are a great part of any large corporation or a project such as this. You can go through different tools involved, and this lets you have a better understanding of your employees, the staff members who are involved in the project, to better utilize their skills and personalities. One of them is training programs. Our book defines or describes training as being a great tool and that it makes your employees more confident in their job. Anyone who knows more about what they do or what's involved in what everyone does under them and above them can more adequately complete their day-to-day activities. Then you have team building activities, and most everyone knows about these. These can be physical, even things such as a ropes course. I think we've all done those in the past. And these are just great, and they build trust between team members. They let everyone see how everyone's brains work. And once you know how everyone's brains work, you know who to pair together with different teams. Then you can move down to the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. And this is a great tool developed by Isabel Myers and Catherine Briggs, and it goes through the different phases below, or dimensions as they call them: extrovert, introvert, sensation or intuition, thinking or feeling, judgment or perception. And these really help you determine a person's personality preferences. And again, this just helps you clarify what type of person they are, how they work, and how to utilize them. The next one that I've put on here is I have created a sample of the social styles profile developed by David Merrill. And this is just a great, another great personality tool. It lets you see if you look in the driver section, it lets you know if they're proactive or task-oriented. If they're expressives, you know that they are people-oriented. Analytical people, you know that they are reactive people more so than proactive. And they're also task-oriented. And then you have amiables, and these people are, again, people-oriented. They think of things in the present, past, or future, depending on the situation. And you can go through the book and you can see more of the description of each of these different categories in order to describe someone's personality. And this is another example of a morale tool. This is the DISC profile, created or based on the work by Wilton Moulton Marston. And you can go through that and you can see the different details involved in each different category. And then we move on to communications, the requirements for communication. You have got all of the different methods in which the project managers went to find out all of the requirements they needed in order to implement a new ERP system. What these guys did, which was really great, is they met with the individual departments within Wellborn to gather requirements for the current CIMIC system. They determined the problems involved in using the system. They developed a list of the requirements for each department to enhance the daily operations for the future of Wellborn. Then they consolidated this list for each department into one large requirements list. And then on top of that, they continued to meet to ensure that these requirements were up to date, that nothing had changed, there were no new requirements. And then they developed a list of the individuals after meeting with all of these who they wanted to be involved with this software procurement. So it was a great almost double method in this, and that they learned all of the requirements they needed to include and look for in a new system. And then they met with the people that they thought would be great assets in helping with this process. The next step was to ask if I thought that there would be any improvements to the way that they communicated their requirements or found out what their requirements needed to be. And while any situation can be improved, I think that the company as a whole did a great job in communicating these requirements and finding out what they needed to be. Instead of passing out forms, they met with these people individually. They took every aspect of the organization into consideration. They went through each department and found what was needed by each individual person, each individual department, to be able to make the system work for everyone and not just from one standpoint. And then the list was broken down further into distinct features that should be present in any software program of interest. And that involved the specifics such as being able to put in a quote for someone, being able to have new cabinets in their system at any point in time, updates being readily available and such. And then I took this is the requirements documentation that Wellborn came up with, and it wanted me to explain the requirements from these. And you can go through, and they've gone and looked from the customer service point of view, they've gone and looked from the end user point of view, from the client point of view. One of them, if you look at the very top, is selection inheritance, and they've said that this applies to the ability to select high-level cabinets characteristics only once, and those can be populated into lower selections that let you then add multiple features to that, as it says there, the wood species, door style, color. Then they have a template capability. So this is where they can have something on file where they can later reference, and they can say, yes, this is going to be exactly like this, I just need to change it with a certain amount of characteristics. And you can go through all of these and you can really be able to better understand all of the requirements involved in this project. And then we have a sample size requirements traceability matrix. And this is a sample size again just because there were so many requirements that I feel like you wouldn't be able to adequately see how a traceability matrix is used. We went through the first one, which was, as I said, the selection inheritance. And of course that all of these pertain to the software, as this is a software issue related project. And then all of them come from the project configurator requirements document. And I considered all of these in the research phase, as that is the part of the project in which I was focusing on, the implementation preparation. So I wanted this to be as where they have taken all of these requirements and they have put them in order of most important on down and to most intricate, depending on the way you wanted to organize them. And then I have just that they are working on all of these in searching for a new ERP system. And then while we could go into more detail on all of this, as I know I'm 16 minutes right now, I just felt like I needed to make this a little short, and that there were so many people involved in this project. It was a very lengthy project, took a few years to complete, as most do, but I believe it was a successful project. And in completing this project for my individual class outside of the Wellborn project, I was able to use our class book by Kathy Schwab, and I was able to use the Wellborn case study itself for all of my references and information. I do hope that this is an adequate representation of my knowledge of the course. I feel like it was a great course, and I feel like I was able to pick out different aspects of this case study, albeit very detailed, and I was able to implement them into this project. Thank you so much.